Now, I'll bet you anything that neither Facebook nor Twitter will be cancelled anytime soon. And that's because big tech and big data are now political weapons of targeted destruction. And the rules only apply to those they want them to.
With the click of a button, you can bring down nations to their knees very rapidly, if you so desire, and if you're willing to take the risks. Because every system can be hacked.
Israel manufactures Pegasus, some of the most advanced spyware in the world. It first came to attention in 2016. Since then, various governments have bought the spyware for their own use. Questions today are, how does Pegasus work? Who is using it?
But what if the why was because of your political beliefs, or who your friends were, or who you chose to donate money to? If you're anything like me, you'd probably think a grave injustice was being done. Yet that is now actually happening, and it's likely to get much, much worse. We are now living in the age of surveillance capitalism.
Our NSA, which is called Unit A200, it's pretty big. We allow them to create companies, and in order for the companies to develop, they need to make, what do they need to make? Money. They need to make money.
What that means is any iPhone or any phone in the world, first connecting to the network when you want to use it, you're immediately known worldwide. I mean, all the switches have you, and they capture your IPs and all that in your phone, and MAC numbers and all that. That's how they bill you. So that also is known by the network, and the implants, computer network exploitation implants, they have around the world over, this was in 2004 or 2010, somewhere in that range, they had over 50,000 implants in all these switches, servers, and networks worldwide. I mean, that means they own the entire network, so that if your phone comes on the air, then they can know who you are and where you are.
When Citizen Lab exposed NSO and its Pegasus spyware in 2016, it attracted worldwide controversy.
The revelator goes on to say, "Before me was a white horse, and his rider rode out as a conqueror bent on conquest." Most commentators believe that's the description of the rise of the Antichrist on the world scene. A conqueror bent on conquest. People will ask, who is like the beast? Who can make war against him?
We can now add January 6th, 2021 to that very short list of dates in American history that will live forever in infamy.
Just how will history record this day?
This kind of leader finds his power in his ability to reign with terror, to bring the terrified into compliance. And history is replete with examples of the Genghis Khans and the Attila the Hun and Vlad the Impaler, and on it goes. But it's ironic that in the 20th century we find that history's most and worst genocidal, most successful psychopathic murderers were able to express themselves in all of their cruelty. One probably is totally unknown to you, King Leopold II of Belgium, who murdered over 10 million people in Africa.
Our smartphones have become an inevitable necessity of modern life. However, they have also turned into a window through which security services can access our private information. They can become a weapon used by unscrupulous governments to spy on us with little legal or moral deterrence. There is still much to be uncovered in this secretive world of hacking and advanced spyware. For Tamer al-Nassal, this investigation into his own phone's hacking has been both revealing and alarming.
Yet when the Antichrist, the beast as he's called, comes onto the world scene, he will outdo them all combined. The question we might ask, at least I ask, so you have to hear my answer. Why do these Antichrist personalities wreak such havoc, destruction, and death? Historian and political philosopher Hannah Arendt in her book, The Origins of Totalitarianism, which is believed by many to kind of be the seminal definitive work on the issue of despots, tyrants. She simply said, terror is used as an instrument to rule masses of people who become perfectly obedient. David Crane, an international jurist, had been involved in many cases against genocidal cases in his career. He says, I have investigated and prosecuted dictators and their henchmen for most of my professional life. I've studied their lives, their personalities, their rise to power, and how they governed. And the one common theme in their theories of governance is fear. It is easier to govern and dictate to citizens through fear than through doing good. And then he says, the infamous dictators of the 20th century understood this all too well. A frightened populace will allow their government to take drastic measures to protect them from a perceived evil without protest. As Hermann Goering, when he was being interviewed by William Gilbert, who was an American psychiatrist at the Nuremberg trials, simply put it that with fear, they were asked the question, how did you take control of Germany? How did you get people to not rise up against you? And he said, simple, fear.
Almost everything you do is being watched, tracked, and stored by big tech companies. They use that data themselves, and they also sell it to others. Now, most people have accepted that as the price of convenience or for access to a particular platform. Until recently, it was really only used to display advertising which might appeal to you. It was a bit creepy, but it was something you could easily ignore. But now we've gone way beyond marketing. This data is being used to cancel you. That's if you like or you see or you do what the tech mafia don't want you to. And lefties, they've been loving the fact that Google, Apple and Amazon cancelled free speech platform Parler on the grounds it was used to plot the Capitol Hill riots. However, now the FBI and other law enforcement claim it was Facebook and Twitter where the riots were principally planned.
Personal privacy is all but gone. If you don't think that's true, next time you're doing a Google search, you'll notice for weeks afterwards you'll be getting ads for that item that you looked at. And it's had a singular effect upon me. I regret I was even interested. But you realize that Amazon has boasted that our algorithms are so advanced and so effective that the day will come when you'll receive a package on your porch that you didn't order, but when you open it, you realize it's what you've always wanted.
Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey addressing the ban on President Trump in a series of tweets last night. He said he did not celebrate or feel pride in having to ban the president from Twitter. He said the decision came down to public safety and that offline harm as a result of online speech is demonstrably real. And he said the ban was a failure of Twitter to promote healthy conversation. That's a topic the president addressed in a video released earlier yesterday.
I also want to say a few words about the unprecedented assault on free speech we have seen in recent days. These are tense and difficult times. The efforts to censor, cancel, and blacklist our fellow citizens are wrong, and they are dangerous. What is needed now is for us to listen to one another, not to silence one another.
Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land, They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets, and they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear about. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right. The table is tilted, folks. The game is rigged. And nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. Good, honest, hard-working people, white collar, blue collar, doesn't matter what color shirt you have on. And nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. That's what the owners count on. Because the owners of this country know the truth. It's called the American dream, because you have to be asleep to believe it.
It's happening very, very quickly. Oh, beloved, if ever there was a time when you and I need to be pressing into God, it's now. If ever there was a time we need to be opening this book and not playing games with God, going in to see what it is that God is speaking to us. If ever there was a time where we should be pressing in to the prayer closet and shutting ourselves in to know what is in the mind of God and to know how we fit into the plan of God, it should be now and in our generation. Now, verses 20 to 24 seem to be telling us that before Christ's return, there's going to be a great deal of confusion about who God is, where God is, and what God is doing. The Pharisees came to him. Now, it's interesting. It's not the church. It's the Pharisees that are asking. And they're saying, because they expected a material and a political kingdom. That's what they were looking for. They were looking for peace and prosperity and power. That was what their focus was. So they came to Christ and they said, now, when is this kingdom that you're speaking about coming? Jesus looks at them and says, this kingdom that I'm telling you about does not come by anything you can see with your natural eye. It's not a political kingdom, folks. It's not a kingdom that people can look at